All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Hit the Pacecar post Darlington. We do have Cory back this week. He is back this week, and he's actually in house as we are recording this week's episode of Hit the Pacecar. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, we're going to go through everything that happened in Darlington, including our weekend winners of Cory Heim, Justin Allgaier, and then of course Tyler Reddick winning four of six races. So that would have been even more impressive. 4 of 6 races so far this year. And we'll have a little discussion on our feelings about stage cautions. And then, of course, we'll preview a little bit of Martinsville Speedway weekend. And then, once again, make our weekly picks to end out the show. But as every week, except for last week, I'm joined by both Cory and Tyler. Cory, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I made it for the show this week, so life's good.
Yeah, it's good to have Cory here this week for the show. It was a struggle last week with Vegas, and he was getting his laptop worked on, and he's actually still kind of getting it worked on, and some updates going on right now, so he's in here recording this week's edition. But Tyler, how are we doing today? I know you're real hyped about the Allgaier win. I'll give you a little bit of a moment here.
A huge moment. Let's see, 4 wins in 21 starts, and I believe 17 top tens for Alligator at Darlington. So king of Darlington, that man is.
Yeah, he really is, and I didn't realize that before the weekend because I always pegged Phoenix is by far his best track. I'm like, yeah, Allgaier's best track is Phoenix by far. But then when I looked at the stats, I'm like, wait, maybe Allgaier's best track might be Darlington. It could be a tie, it could be really close. But guess where his 2 wins have came this year? Phoenix
Phoenix and
and
Darlington.
Darlington. So an amazing season from the Alligator, Lil Gator, 2 wins in the last 3 races, and he's averaging a second place finish over the last 3 races in my weekly power rankings on Larry's Trackside teaser. I have Allgaier number one, and he's number one in the standings. A great start of the year for him. But we will talk about Allgaier in a little bit. But let's start with the Craftsman Truck Series, as we had a barn burner sort of event, not too surprising. The discussion all weekend, I'd say, was tires. We saw a lot of tire fall off in all 3 races. The Truck Series put on a hell of a show. A driver that I want to give their flowers to that just put on a great show. I've been a big supporter of him for a couple of years now. Caden Honeycutt, coming from the iRacing world, the local short track world. He put on a show, wasn't able to quite get the victory. Ross Chastain made things interesting from the first lap, because I think the first lap he put Majeski or somebody in the wall on the very first lap of the race trying to do a slide job. He was very entertaining all race. Looked like he could have potentially won this race if Heim didn't go Heim time at the end of this thing. And then, of course, Carson Hocevar looked like he had it in the bag. And then he lost a tire and totaled his car from the race lead. I'll get to start with you on this one, Tyler. How did we feel about the Truck Series race we had on Friday night? I like the Truck. The Truck Series is probably my favorite series. The viewership has really been going up this year on the Truck Series. We haven't seen the viewership yet from this week, but I expect it to once again be a lot higher than last year. But how are we feeling about the Truck Series that we had at Darlington?
And that truck race was a killer race for sure. I mean, comings and goings each direction.
There were
Carson doing
Cummins out
Carson
there.
shit. There was Cummins out there. In each direction. There was Carson doing Carson shit like he always does. That was cool to watch him drive through the field and then blow a tire like he always does. I mean, everything you can think of. And then, of course, Heim Time doing Heim Time shit.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, Hocevar. I don't know what it is with Hocevar and Darlington. They just don't mesh. He's had a lot of bad luck in the trucks over there, even from his Nice days over there at Darlington. Just seems to be a struggle of a racetrack for him. But overall, just a fantastic race. I can't give enough credit to Honeycutt. I think that first win is right around the corner. I think I read a stat where he is currently, out of all the active drivers in the Truck Series, he has the most laps led without a win. I think second was Jake Garcia, if I'm not mistaken. But Caden Honeycutt, I hope he wins here soon. And you got to feel for Hocevar even a little bit, no matter how you really feel about him. I thought he was going to win that race at the end. It just didn't quite pan out the way I think we were all expecting, or Hocevar was wanting. And I think it was under the side by side or something, or something like that when he wrecked with a couple laps to go. Yeah, it was gnarly. I can't believe that. I still can't believe that happened. But Cory, what were your thoughts about the Truck Series race we saw at Darlington Raceway?
I thought it was easily the best race of the weekend. I think there wasn't anything close. It was entertaining the entire race. You, I thought Ross Chastain had it in the bag with that last restart, and then Corey Heim came out of nowhere, and no one saw it coming. Even that last lap, you were just like, "Oh, Ross has this." And then that last turn 3 and 4, he made it stick, and he got the win. The Truck Series is on an all-time high right now for me. Like, it's just so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The Truck Series are just the trucks are just always very exciting. They always put on a great show. I also think there's some really good talent down there right now. And also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but when they release these entry lists for the races, the Truck Series tends to have all these interesting characters in the race, and we saw that with Chastain and Christopher Bell amongst a couple others in the field that were in the Truck Series race. And I was overall just really entertained by the racing we ended up having. I think that lets us move right on to the Heim conversation, because I remember they were talking with a couple laps to go when we had that, right before we had that last restart. Hey, they're like, hey, Timmy Hill got fresh tires. Timmy Hill's probably going to make some crazy moves through the field. And then all of a sudden we see Corey Heim just weaving in and out in the field. I think it was Blaney coming over the radio or whatever immediately. Like, he's like, wait, Heim also took tires, and they were that's one thing that's going to happen with the driver's broadcast. They were a little bit late on it, but he was like, Heim has fresher tires. They ended up finding out a little bit later that it was scuffs, and Corey Heim just did what he had to do and did what was almost expected from Corey Heim at this point. He was flying those last couple of laps. Heim Time getting another win at Darlington, winning in a part-time campaign. He's actually 8th in points right now. He is 8th in Truck Series points right now, which is completely insane. I loved Ross Chastain's reaction after. He had no idea that Heim was coming. I think he was saying, oh, my spotter said that, oh, the 5's behind you and he's really fast. And Chastain looked up in the mirror and he's like, oh, pretty much like, oh, he's way too far back. He's not going to catch me. And then all of a sudden, Heim just completely sends it into 3 and 4 and clears him fairly easily and goes flying by him. I loved all of it. Heim Time just does it again, proves how much he deserves a Cup Series ride, a full-time Cup Series ride, and not with like some shitty team either, with like one of the premier teams, whether it's, obviously it's not going to happen to Gibbs because him and Ty Gibbs freaking hate each other for some reason. Still don't understand that really. But the 48 car, that's potentially going to be open. Blaney's in a contract year, so the 12 car potentially could be open. My bad. The 12 car could potentially be open. Who knows? Barry's having a tough year. Maybe the 21 car. I think there's some potential premier cars that he could get in next season. I think the landing spot for him would probably be that 35 at 2311 Racing, unless Riley Herbst starts kicking ass or something like that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And I'm going to send it to the Chastain fan because I'm curious on how he felt about the end of this race. All of us, Tyler, I think we all thought that the watermelon was going to get smashed on the front straightaway, but then Heim Time had to do his Heim Time thing and just came out of nowhere. How did you feel about the end of that race?
And I'm a Ross Chastain fan for sure, but in those trucks, I am rooting for Heim Time every time.
Love to hear it.
That guy comes out of nowhere, no matter what, to win those races. Like, it was guaranteed. The moment I clicked on the entry list and I seen, oh, Heim, give him the trophy. Might as well. Done. I love Ross. Ross is a damn good driver, and unfortunately, in the Truck Series and in the Xfinity Series, he's lost a couple. O'Reilly Series, he's lost a couple times in that manner for unfortunate events. But Heim Time every time.
Heim Time every time. Yeah, I'm a big supporter of Heim Time just because we can all see how talented of a driver he is. He doesn't really have any sponsorship or money backing him. He's really doing everything that he is right now just on pure skill, pure will of the game, I guess you could say. And I'm just really impressed with what Corey Heim is able to do week in and week out. And you were saying when you saw Heim on the entry list, just give him the trophy now. And I think the sports books kind of thought that too, because if I remember correctly, Heim Time was at plus 260 before practice and qualifying, and everybody else, including Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell, were plus 500 or more. So his odds were almost half as the rest of the field going into the event. I put a little sprinkle on Corey Heim and I won like $1.50, you know? I didn't win like any money, but I won something this weekend. So that was a plus, I guess. But Heim Time just does it again, Cory. You share the name, you share the same name. But how do we feel about Heim Time overall and just the end of that race and him just Heim Time in the clutch moments?
Corey Heim is just so impressive. Like, I think we can beat a dead horse by saying that he deserves to be racing on Sunday and be in the Cup Series. But even when you doubt him, like he wasn't talked about for most of the day, he still comes up and steals a win that he had no right to steal. And I already said it. I thought Ross had that in the bag. I picked him to win. Part of me, because I thought Corey Heim was going to win. I didn't want to, not that I didn't want to see it, but I wanted to see. I kind of want to prove myself wrong. I want to see him pull it off. And seeing Ross Chastain in the lead with those final laps and Corey Heim coming from what, 8th or 7th on that restart, and came and stole it. It was just so entertaining. Like, Corey Heim is impressive as hell, and I just can't wait to see him race more. I don't want him to be part-time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Heim Time is the real deal. I've mentioned this before. Connor Zilic is the future of the sport. Brent Cruz is the future of the sport. Corey Heim are those three, I would say, are the big three that are either coming through the ranks or, in Zilic's case, already came through the ranks and is a rookie in the Cup Series right now. Those three are the future of our sport. But the problem is with someone like Corey Heim, and even to a certain degree with Brent Cruz, don't necessarily have all the sponsorship backing and stuff like that. And it's a shame. And we've seen it happen many times, and I'm hoping that Corey Heim's talent's able to shine through. And with him getting into the truck and just winning, I could see it shining through. He has a couple more 23-11 starts this year. I'm very excited to see what he does. I think Kansas might be his next race. I thought, for some reason, I was thinking it might be this week, but I think it's actually Kansas, because I did see the entry list, and Heim's not on the entry list for Cup this week. So in a couple weeks in Kansas, if he can go out there and get a top 10, top 15, just continue to impress in that 23-11 car, I think that 35 car is all his, because it sounds like Herbst is on the hot seat at the moment. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about the Truck Series race at Darlington and Corey Heim, aka Heim Time, clutching it at the end on the scuffs? All right, let's move on to the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, where this wasn't a bad race, but I also thought this race pretty much went exactly how I really expected it. Not too much chaos, just some great racing throughout the day, primarily dominated by Kyle Larson replacing Alex Bowman in that number 88, I would say. And I made a tweet about it that I think that his crew kind of screwed him out of that one, unfortunately. I think his pit crew cost him a victory. I think he probably would have won that race, but at the same time, Justin Allgaier, once he got into that clean air, just seemed like he was unstoppable. But we will talk more about Allgaier in a minute. But the O'Reilly race as a whole, I felt was very entertaining. Honestly, I was very entertained by all three races that we saw this weekend. And once again, Brandon Jones something about having the last name Jones and going to Darlington just works out. Brandon Jones, Eric Jones, something about that name just works out at Darlington, because anytime we go to Darlington, Brandon Jones is competing for the win every single time. I guess I'll send it to you first, Tyler. How did we feel about the race we saw at Darlington on Saturday?
For the most part, it's probably one of the more predictable races when it comes to the O'Reilly series, unfortunately. Agreed. So it was all right. It was a good race for what it was, for sure. I mean, Allgaier got a win, so that's what matters to me. But like you said, Larson dominated most of the race, so it's not like it was nothing that we all didn't see coming.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge surprise. Yeah, Larson completely dominated. I think the only surprise was that his pit crew kind of screwed him on the last pit stop. I think that was really the only surprise, because I think he ended up coming out of pit road 5th, and he finished he finished 4th? Do you remember where he finished?
4th. He almost lost 4th.
He almost lost 4th. Yeah, so
Quaffle.
Yeah, Carson Quaffle, that's another good person too. Quaffle's been kicking ass this year. Been very impressed with Carson Quaffle. I think that change at the crew chief position has really, really helped him for sure. And yeah, just another good day at Darlington, I would say. Larson wasn't quite able to get the victory. But let me know your thoughts on. I almost forgot to send it to you. He's like, you don't have to.
If you don't want to, it's all good.
Cory, how did you feel about the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race that we had at Darlington?
I mean, it's funny because I think we can all agree that the O'Reilly series has been the most entertaining series almost consistently every single week. And I feel like this week was the first time it easily wasn't to me.
I think it was the third
The
race.
the truck race was the best race, and then you could debate between Saturday and Sunday for which one had the better race. This one, like you said, it was almost predictable. It was pretty predictable. Everyone thought Larson was going to win until he got screwed by his team. But honestly, it worked out in the best case scenario for Junior Motorsports because it wasn't the part-time driver that won. It was someone competing for the championship that won. So I feel like for Junior Motorsports,
Bingo.
it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic day for Junior Motorsports / Hendrick Motorsports because Cory Day once again had another really good day as well. And Cory Day, he's going to be around for the next 20 years. I think he's part of that conversation with Brent Cruz. And I am 100% convinced at this point that Cory Day is a guy. Cory Day is a guy. Cory, I'm going to send it back to you real quick, but because I would say you're probably the biggest Cory Day fan out of us. How are we feeling about Cory Day so far this season? He made mistakes early on in the season. He made mistakes last year, whether he was in a truck or in an Xfinity car at the time, now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. He made some mistakes, but I think he's been kind of almost bullied into racing a little cleaner, and he hasn't ruffled any feathers. And one of those tracks was Darlington, where I feel like almost anybody has like some sort of beef with somebody at the end of that race, and he just kept it clean. How are we feeling about Cory Day so far?
I think he's starting to show that he's a true wheelman. I think Larson knows it from his dirt experience that he's impressive. He has a lot of talent. And I think in the truck series, he didn't show it all that well, which is concerning if he ever gets up to Sunday because they're the closest cars to Sunday. So that scares me a little bit. But you can see on Saturday, and especially at a track like Darlington, where you have to be a wheelman, that he can do it. He can hang around with the big dogs. And like you said, he made mistakes to start off the year, but he's quickly figuring it out. As long as he doesn't keep ruffling feathers and lays low and gets top fives and top tens and is consistently up there, he's gonna make a case to be driving on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, especially with that 48 car being potentially open at the end of this season. And I think I said it last week, and I think I also said it the week before that. Whoever has the better overall performance, at least through the summer, between Raja Caruth and Cory Day, I think gets the ride. And right now, I consider them pretty even. Cory Day has the better finishes, but Raja Caruth has been racing a lot in that Jordan Anderson car and just getting the most he can out of that Jordan Anderson number 32. So I think they both have made a great case for them to potentially go cup racing next year. Before we move on to Retzlaff, I want to get your thoughts on Cory Day real quick, Tyler, and you can even put Raja in this if you want to as well. How are we feeling about Cory Day so far this season? He's really impressed me, and I wouldn't say because I've always said he had the raw speed, but the fact that he's cleaned it up a lot as much as he has, as quick as he has, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's not as big of a sample size as well. It's not a very big sample size. Just the last couple of races he's kept it clean, but if he can keep this up and continue to improve in that racing IQ, he's going to be something special.
I think he's going to be something special either way. I mean, he's got Kyle Larson behind him. He's got the man behind the man. So at this point, he'll be fine. He'll figure it out. He'll find his way through. Like Kyle said during Vegas, he followed him the whole time. The man was sideways. I'm sure Kyle had all kinds of pointers for him. I mean, you can slow somebody down. You can't speed him up. So the dude's got it. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That reminds me what you just said. You can't slow him down. You can only speed him up. That reminds me. I think that's probably what ended up happening with Chastain when he had that talk from Rick Hendrick. They might have slowed him down a little bit, but I think Trackhouse as a whole, I think, is struggling this year. But I think Chastain has definitely picked it back up this year for sure. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race as a whole? Cory Day, Raja Caruth. Let us know in the comments. All right, I really want to talk about this. I really wanted to have this driver have his own subject. because I think we're all fairly big fans of Retzlaff. I think Cory's probably the biggest fan of Retzlaff out of us, and we've been supporting him for a while now. We've seen what he's done over the last couple of years. No matter what car he's in, he just seems to find some sort of success. He seems to get the most out of his equipment possible. And with him at Darlington this past weekend, and Darlington's obviously not a very easy track. It's probably the most difficult racetrack on the schedule. There might be a slight argument with Rockingham as the most difficult racetrack on the schedule, but I would say it's probably Darlington. And for Parker Retzlaff to qualify as high up as he did and run top 5, top 10 the entire race pretty much in a not as a competitive car. Viking obviously has the alliance with Richard Childress Racing for sure, but it's not they're not the same thing. You know, they have that alliance. And for him to be as impressive as he's been to start this year is insane, including outracing his teammate Anthony Alfredo, who is no slouch, because I considered Anthony Alfredo to be kind of like a Parker Retzlaff type, where he gets the most out of his equipment. No matter what car he's in, he's going to do the best that he possibly can. And the fact that he's outperforming Anthony Alfredo, and he's outperforming most of the series right now, and if the chase would start right now, Retzlaff would be in it. I'm insanely impressed by Parker Retzlaff. Someone needs to sign him next year. I know he doesn't have a lot of sponsorship backing, so it's a very similar situation to what Heim's going through. Because even a couple races this year already, Retzlaff hasn't really had a sponsor on the car. It just had Viking on the car. So hopefully Retzlaff's able to get some more money, get some more sponsorship, garner that stuff this year, and maybe next year make a run at an O'Reilly Series championship or something like that with maybe a Junior Motorsports, with a Joe Gibbs Racing. Maybe he just moves up to Richard Childress Racing. Maybe RCR decided to have a third car or something like that. Or maybe Jesse Love goes Cup Series Racing or something like that. And I guess I'll start with Cory on this one. How do we feel about Retzlaff as a whole this season? And honestly, if I had to name the driver of the day when it came to Saturday, it would be Parker Retzlaff, 120%. How are we feeling about Retzlaff?
Man,
Parker's
it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see. I've been a fan since he was in the 31, couple years while he was in the 31 and in the 4, and he always shows that he can be in the top 5, the top 10, or he'd showed glimpses of it, but he'd always be involved, I swear, in every wreck. He just could not avoid it. He got just bad luck all the time, and it's awesome to see him get such a good start this year. Second at Echo Park, and then what did he finish this week? He was racing the top 5 all week.
Finishing 6th, I think, this week.
Yeah, just impressive. It's awesome to see with a second-year team still getting the most out of his equipment. I think that's the best driver to say that with. He gets the most out of his equipment every time, and it's impressive to see. I'm glad he's getting his flowers. Even on Door Bumper Clear, they had to bring him up. They gave him his flowers, and I hope he gets a better ride next year. And I mean, honestly, he's doing good with the ride he's in, but we all know he's worthy talent-wise of one of those top-tier cars.
Yeah, Retzlaff, I think he's proven that he's ready to be in a top-tier sort of ride, at least in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. So I'm hoping he gets that opportunity next year to get into a top-performing ride, whether that's, like I mentioned, RCR or Gibbs or Junior Motorsports or Hendrick Motorsports are kind of getting in there now. So maybe he can be part of the Hendrick Brigade or something like that. Maybe Penske comes back, RFK. They've talked about coming back to the O'Reilly series. Haas Factory Team, I'd say Haas Factory Team. They're a pretty good O'Reilly Auto Parts series team as well. So I would like for him to race for one of those teams next year. But for what he has this year, he's doing the best he possibly can. Tyler, how are we feeling about Retzlaff so far this season and his overall performance at Darlington? Because I thought he was just kick-ass on Saturday.
I think Parker knows exactly how to work with what he's got. That's what his best skill has been, it seems to be, is to show that no matter what he's given, he can work with it to do something with it to produce a decent outcome. So, I mean, that's what everybody wishes for in every series on every team is a decent outcome for every race at the very least, right? Everybody hopes for a win, but you're not going to get a win every week. So, if you can put a shitty car in the top 10, that's the best you can hope for. I think the man does that every chance he gets. He hits his back against the wall and goes. So, he deserves a little bit better of a car. I think he could definitely park it in victory circle with a lot more help.
And he had a good ride his one cup start.
Yeah, he's done well. He's done well in everything that he's really attempted at. I'm just very excited for Retzlaff's future. I'm hoping the attention that he's garnered over the last couple of weeks, he can get some more sponsorship, he can get some more money. Because unfortunately, that's what makes this sport go round. That's why we don't see Cory Heim racing full time. That's why we don't see some of these other drivers get the rides that they may deserve, and it ends up going to someone else. Like, look at Nick Sanchez. He got taken out of the 48 car after a kick-ass year, and now you got Patrick Staropoli in there, who's actually done a little bit better than I expected, but he hasn't even come close to match up what Sanchez did last year. It's just all about the money. And hopefully Retzlaff's able to garner some sponsorship and get himself a great ride. I did hear somebody have a take, I forget who it was. It might have been on Door Bumper Clear, actually, where they should do a similar thing that Ryan Preece did a number of years ago with Joe Gibbs Racing, where instead of paying for a whole season for a mediocre team, he raced like 4 or 5 races at Joe Gibbs Racing. I think he won one of the races and kind of made himself known throughout the NASCAR community at that point. So maybe that's something you'll have to do, unfortunately, is I would probably take that over, maybe not even over Viking, though, because Viking actually look pretty good, and they're a growing race team. So I'm very interested to see what the future is for Parker Retzlaff. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Mr. Crocker, aka Parker Retzlaff? I couldn't go the whole segment without calling him Mr. Crocker.
Yeah, dude, I was about to say it.
I had to do it. I had to do it. I hope he takes it as a compliment. Mr. Crocker's awesome. I hope he probably does. He probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't.
I think he still uses that as his sign, his pit sign.
Oh, is that his pit sign?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome if that's his pit sign. Then he owns it then. That's awesome. Fuck yeah. That just gave me more respect for him if that's true. All right. But let's get down to our race winner for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Darlington. And it was Justin Allgaier, the Alligator, Lil Gator, getting his second win of the season, his second win in the last 3 races. And he's looking to get another O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship. And I think he's on the right path. He's had a fantastic year so far. I wouldn't say he was clutch at the end of this race, but I guess he kind of was with the way he had those restarts at the end of this race. And just, I think his team made all the right adjustments all day, and that car just hooked up when he got into the clean air. Because I felt like he had a top 5, maybe a top 3 car. I honestly thought the second best car all day was Brandon Jones, and the fact that he was able to outrace Brandon Jones at the end of that race and drive away and get another victory. I don't know what else to say, because Alligator going to do some alligator shit. But I really want Tyler to kind of take over here, because he's the Allgaier super fan. And how are we feeling so far on this year, Tyler? Because Allgaier has had a phenomenal start to the year. Like I said earlier, in the last 3 races, he has 2 wins, and he has an average finish of 2nd place. An insane start of the year, and he has a crazy points lead as well, similar to almost Tyler Reddick in the Cup Series. How are we feeling about all the Alligator so far this season, Tyler?
I'm feeling like we pack our bags, boys. We're going to Miami.
We're going to
Like,
Miami.
it's time. It's time. No, the Alligators seriously got a hold of the competition and is straight up just rolling them. Like, he is, the name and all means something right now. It is for sure Alligator time. He's never done this well. He's never been this consistent. He's never been this on. He's enjoying his life right now. He's enjoying Victory Lane with his kids. He's enjoying it all.
Yep.
Like, the smile on his face when I got to see him in Phoenix personally was just something else. He's just a ball of sunshine right now, and the dude's killing it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's one thing I really like about Allgaier, is that none of this seems to become stale for him. No matter how many races he wins, no matter what he does, every single time when he gets into victory lane, he truly looks pumped. And especially on Saturday, he was even emotional. I think I saw some tears from him as well.
Oh, when he did the whole like arm drop when he seen his wife, man. Tears fell from my eyes. He loves that woman so much. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I just love Allgaier and his pure passion for the sport. He has a great personality. He always has his heart on his sleeve. He always shows you exactly how he's feeling. I'm a big fan of Allgaier. He's obviously struggled a couple weeks in the 48 car, but he's not necessarily used to the car, and I think Hendrick is struggling as a whole right now, I would say, as well. But
And
Allgaier
let's be real, Hendrick is not putting anything in that 48 right now. There is not one person that they're looking at caring about that car. That car is just on the track.
Yeah, at this point, I would say it kind of is like that, probably. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of the way the Hendrick building is going, but I wouldn't disagree with you, Tyler. That's kind of what it's seeming like to me as well. Hendrick Motorsports is struggling as a whole right now in the Cup Series, but the Allgaier, Lil Gator, just continues to impress me. No matter how old he is, he's a veteran of the sport at this time. He's been around for about almost 20 years at this point. He's been around for so long, and he's done phenomenal at junior motorsports for a number of years. I remember those early years at I think Brandt Motorsports and at what's it called, Penske. I lost the name on there. Penske. He had some success at Penske, but the moment he got in that 7 car, he's just been on a different level, and he's been on a different level every year since. Cory, how did we feel about Allgaier at the end of this race, being able to clutch it on a couple of restarts against Brandon Jones, and just the overall start of the year for Allgaier? I think he has to be the championship favorite, I would have to say.
I think it's his championship to lose, to be honest. I think we're all huge fans of Allgaier, not as much as Tyler, but I love Justin Allgaier too. He's just Mr. Consistent, to be honest. He's Mr. Consistent of the O'Reilly series, and those interviews are always fun to watch. Even though it's someone that wins the most probably in the O'Reilly series, he always treats it like it's his first. I swear, it looks like he's celebrating and excited with his family. I think his father was there. It was like an emotional experience just watching him win in front of his family, and it's hard not to root for him. Allgaier is awesome, and honestly, next time he wins, we need to do the other guys drop, like a little like meme and go, Gator don't play no shit. You feel me?
Gator don't play no shit.
Love that shit.
I love the other guys. That one, they need to make another one of those. That's a great movie.
Next time he gets a win, we gotta start. Gator don't play no shit.
Gator don't play.
It's a highlight video of him winning.
It just immediately transfers into like an edit or something.
Exactly.
I could see that. That's fun. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about Allgaier, Lil Gator, Justin Allgaier's start to his season? Then, of course, his clutch performance at Darlington Raceway on Saturday to get himself his second win in the last 3 races. All right, that lets us move on to the NASCAR Cup Series, as we had the Goodyear 400, and one of the biggest discussions coming into the weekend was the Goodyears for the Goodyear 400, and we ended up having a lot of tire fall off. I mentioned this in my post-race discussion on Car on the Hauler. If you want to check, you can check that episode out on my YouTube page, Trackside Larry, and also if you're listening on Spotify, on there. But I kind of went into a little bit of a moment where I was talking about how a lot of the drivers, I think, were just really prepared. We've talked about this for about a month now, and I don't think we didn't end up having 4 seconds of fall off, but to be fair, they didn't run the full fuel run. By the time they came down pit road, it was around 2.5 to 3.5 seconds worth of fall off, depending on where they decided to make the pit stop. So I think all the teams, all the drivers were very prepared for all the tire fall off. I think it was going to be very hard to get what we had at Bristol in the spring, because nobody saw that coming. No one expected the tire fall off to happen in that race, so the teams were just kind of scrambling, along with Goodyear. Goodyear was also scrambling during that race. It was a crazy race to think back on, but overall, I loved this race. We saw so many comers and goers throughout the day. Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney were making the field their bitch, just flying through the field throughout the day. I felt bad for Bubba getting caught up in Denny's mess at one point in the race. Blaney's pit crew kind of screwed him over a little bit, but that's not a surprise at this point. Their pit crew seems to be completely off. But overall, just really loved the race. I love seeing comers and goers. I like to see a lot of passing throughout the field. I like for some drivers to be like, all right, I'm going to be a long run guy. Y'all people that are trying to go right now, just go on by, just pass me, and I'll pass you later. That's just how NASCAR was in the 90s and in the early 2000s, where I became a big fan of NASCAR. So I just love to see it. I loved the racing that we ended up having throughout the race. The Logano fans didn't like it because Logano was complete ass cheeks, to be honest, and the other two Penske cars were pretty good. But Tyler, I'll start with you on this one. How did we feel about the Goodyear 400 as a whole? We will talk about Reddick here in a second, but how did you feel about the Goodyear 400 as a whole? How did you feel about the tire fall off and everything we saw on Sunday?
It was an absolute great race. I mean, the only thing that I could complain about is the stages, because it ruined the tire fall off for the first two sets of the first two stages of the race. So at that point, I mean, it's kind of null and void. But stage three was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I think that's everything that we've been hoping for with those tires.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and we will talk more about the stages a little bit later because I think if we didn't have the stage cautions, we potentially could have had a much different and maybe even more entertaining race, depending on what way you look at it. But Cory, how did we feel about the Goodyear 400 as a whole? How did we feel about the tire fall off and everything that we saw on Sunday?
I think it was a great race. I think there's ways for it to be better, and I think we'll talk about that later. But the race was entertaining. You had comers and goers. You had pit strategy play a huge factor and actually reward some and ruin some. Um, you had a lot of pit road mistakes, people being turned around on pit road. I mean, it was just overall an entertaining race. It was awesome to see all of the RFK cars up front with the Greg Biffle throwback. Like that was just there were one, two, three at one point, and it's just like, dude, it felt like it was for Biffle at that moment. Brad almost pulled it off, but the race as a whole was an improvement. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was an improvement from last year. It made it easier to pass, and the comers and goers were more obvious and made pit strategy more fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be fair to say that the races at Darlington Raceway with in the next gen era have been like a mixed bag. We've had some very entertaining races and we've had some not necessarily so entertaining races. But I would say this race that we had, the Goodyear 400, the spring race that we just had at Darlington, was probably the best Darlington race as a whole that we've seen in the next gen era. We've definitely had way better races at Darlington before we had the next gen in play, but I'm just talking about the next gen, this current generation of car. I personally thought it was probably the best race we've seen. The Southern 500 last year, though, was quite good as well, I would have to say. But just a great race from start to finish. Obviously, there was some issues a little bit with the staging, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, just loved the race, and I liked your little shout out to RFK because that was really cool to see RFK Racing do as well as they did. Brad K winning both stages. Busher might have who knows? Busher might have ended up winning the race. I don't think he would have. I don't think anybody had anything for Reddick, but he probably would have at least competed for second with his teammate and owner Brad Keselowski got caught up. Busher got caught up by not putting his hand out the window and got ran over by Reddick when he tried to come down pit road. And Priest had a pretty good day as well. He finished just outside the top 10. I think he was a little bit faster than that. But it was good to see those RFK Fords as well being competitive. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How did we feel about the Darlington race as a whole, the Goodyear 400? Because I did see that some people were disappointed about it. I did see that some people were disappointed about it. They were expecting some crazy shit show crash fest or something like that, and that's not what we should probably want. I would say. Like I saw Jordan Bianchi. Jordan Bianchi was real. It seemed like he was really disappointed in the race. If anybody saw the teardown, he seemed pretty disappointed in the race. You can go.
Yeah. See, it's hard not to jump into the stage cautions part because I feel like that plays a huge part into that because I think the horsepower and the tire wear and the fall off was awesome. I also feel like it's still a problem with the car to where it's so easy to handle. Like it's hard to wreck. Like the drivers say, it's hard to wreck. You can keep control of your car. Yeah, your tires are gonna wear, but no one's gonna wreck with all the downforce that they have, and that's what I mean. People shouldn't watch NASCAR for wrecks, but that is part of the entertainment process of it. And we had no wrecks other than Hamlin wrecking Eric Jones.
Well, we also as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yep, but it's still like incidental contact and a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people look forward to wrecks, and I'm not saying that's what they should do, but I think it's a lot just the downforce of this car. It's makes it hard to lose control compared to the other cars, and people are still trying to get to that era.
I think that will make it actually an easy transition into talking about the stage cautions, because we've talked about this before on Hit the Pacecar. I don't think we've ever had it as like a full-fledged topic, but it has been a discussion amongst fans, whether you're on X or on TikTok or YouTube or wherever. There's been some chatter about stages and stage cautions and how we feel about both. I've always been beating the drum on saying I'm all for the stages when it comes to the points, because I remember back in the early 2000s, sometimes a driver, like for example, like Chicagoland or something, a driver would lead like 80% of the race and all of a sudden blow a motor or lose a tire, and then all of a sudden he gets last place points. And even though he had a dominant day, he might get some bonus points for leading most laps or something like that. But other than that, didn't really have any points to show throughout the day. But for example, on Sunday, this past Sunday for Darlington Raceway, Brad Keselowski won stage 1 and stage 2 and garnered 20 points. So if he wrecked out or something happened, he at least had 20 points. It's not necessarily a great points day, but it's better than last place points and then have nothing to show from it. So I've been all for having the stage points, but I'm not for, and I've said this many times, I'm not for the stage cautions, because I want the race to take a natural course. If we're at a road course and Shane Van Gisbergen's up by 20 seconds, guess what? He's up by 20 seconds. He earned it. Like, that's just how it is. I don't care where we're at. I want these. I'm a racing purist. I want the racing to play out the way it's supposed to. I don't like it when they get all. I don't like it when it's manufactured and all of them getting ganged up. And most likely we're going to get some sort of wreck. We're going to get some sort of debris or something at some point in the race, and we'll have the occasional natural caution for sure. But if someone's kicking all sorts of ass, I want them to kick all sorts of ass and not have to come back to everybody else, risk getting wrecked or something crazy happening. But I want to get the boys' thoughts on this. I'll start with Tyler on this one. How do we feel about the stages and the stage cautions? Do you like the way it is? Would you like it changed a little bit? Or do you want the stage? I've even seen some people that want the stage points and stage cautions gone. They just want it all gone. So, but Tyler, how do you feel about the stages and the stage cautions?
Stage points I'm fine with. So I mean, if they want to award points for whoever's leading the lap at a certain time, that's fine with me. I really don't care. Those points can make a difference at the end of the year. So I can understand why they want to do that. It creates a little bit of drama inside the race. But enough with the caution. The caution needs to stop. The points are fine. The caution needs to go.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not for the cautions. I think that would also help out with the super speedway racing as well. I think it would just, it would definitely,
Absolutely.
it would really help the super speedway racing, I think, for sure. And then for any sort of speedway or short track or road course, it just helps the race take natural course. And I just like that as a racing purist. I don't like it when we get these bullshit cautions for the stages. I also didn't like back in the day, because I think I heard Matt Weaver talking about how back in the day it was kind of similar, but instead of there being stage cautions, they were just random debris cautions, even if there wasn't debris on the racetrack. So I don't want that either. I just want these races to play out the way they're supposed to. And if that means SVG leads every single lap of the race and there's not a single caution at Watkins Glen or something, so be it. So be it. But Cory, what are your thoughts on stages and stage cautions?
I think it depends. I think on super speedways and road courses, there's a good argument to just get rid of the cautions in general. I think everyone's for stage points. You should be for stage points. It shows consistency throughout a race. You need to have stage points. It rewards being consistent. And then, but it's hard because I agree with everything you guys say, but I say like they have to fix the car first. You can have, I mean, other than what we just saw this weekend, you could have the best car be in 20th last year and finish 18th because you can't pass. You get air blocked the entire race. These cautions are your only chance to gain 3 or 4 spots because this car sucks. So I think they have to fix the car, get the car perfect before they start getting rid of like cautions, because this car is, besides last week, they're making improvements. It's impossible to pass with, or borderline. You can air block way too much, and but I agree with the gist of what you guys are saying. I just saying you can't do it right now. They can't. It's not priority one. Get rid of it with super speedways and road courses, but their priority should be finding the best way to make this car race better before they get rid of stage cautions, because that's the only thing that keeps a lot of the new fans engaged, and that's not who they should be fighting for, but it's what makes it entertaining. Like, even us there in person, like, you can't do those stage cautions made us not fall asleep at Phoenix and Vegas the last few years.
That's a very valid, fair point. That was probably the best argument I've heard for the stage caution so far this week, or probably ever, when it comes to the Cup Series at least, that this car is pretty trash, and depending on what tires we bring to the track, depending on what horsepower package we end up having that weekend, even if you are the fastest car, it's pretty difficult to make passes throughout the field. So that's a valid argument that Cory just had here, for sure. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about stages, the stage points, and the stage cautions? Do you want it to stay the exact way it is, like Cory's saying, at least until they decide to make the car better? Or are you kind of more with me and Tyler on the fact of we want to keep the stage points, but just take away the cautions and let the races play out the way they're supposed to? Or do you maybe have the other opinion where you don't like stage points, you don't like stage cautions, you just want Winston Cup? Let me know. Let me know if you just want Winston Cup, because that's pretty much what it is. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. All right. This will have us move on to our race winner for the Goodyear 400, and maybe not a very big surprise to some people, and that is Tyler Reddick finally getting his first win at Darlington Raceway, but 4 wins in the first 6 races of the season, and Reddick went through hell and back in this race. He had his cool suit fail. I remember at one point he was purging all the water out of his cool suit. He was taking water bottles and trying to get the old water out and put in fresher, cleaner, colder water, I should say. I mean, it probably is cleaner actually too, but colder water. So he was doing that. They had to change a battery at one point. He had one of his crew members in the side of his car changing the battery. At one point, he came over the radio saying that his brakes were getting really hard, so he was worried that his brakes were beginning to fail at one point in this event, and he still went on to win the race in just amazing fashion. He was around, and NASCAR and Fox, in my opinion, this was the worst race they had all year. They did a horrible job in the booth, because Reddick was like 13 seconds back, and he was flying through the field, and they just kept a camera on Brad pretty much the whole time and didn't really discuss it up until Reddick got somewhat closer. I think they did a really bad job all day, but especially about that. But Reddick came from around 13 seconds back on the fresher Goodyears, because he had roughly around 5 laps fresher Goodyears, and went flying all the way up to the front to get another win. And then I also want to make a quick shout out to Hocevar, who had even fresher tires than Reddick, had like 10 lap fresher tires than compared to someone like Brad Keselowski, and he drove up for a 4th place finish. That first win is right around the corner. But just to see Reddick get another win, ultimately I did want Brad to win, mainly because of the Greg Biffle stuff, and then also Brad hasn't won a race in a while. But I'm perfectly okay. I've seen some people already saying I'm getting tired of 2311, or I'm upset about this or that. I'm overall fine with it because it's great promotion for the sport. And Tyler Reddick's just overall a very likable driver. He's a very likable guy with a good personality. So I was overall okay with him winning, and he got his 4th win in the first 6 races. And then Michael Jordan popped out from behind the pit box. I didn't even know he was there this weekend. Usually when Michael Jordan's there, they put the camera on him a couple of times during the race. I think my prediction is that he was hanging out in somebody's RV just watching on TV, and he was never going to come out of that RV unless someone won the race. That's my prediction, that he was just watching in the RV. Hey, Tyler, if you want to talk to me before the race, just come to my RV. I'm hanging out. I'm not going outside, because I didn't know he was there. I didn't think he was supposed to be there this weekend. He just popped out, running on the front straightaway, celebrating, jumped over the wall. It's just great promotion for our sport, having Tyler Reddick and Michael Jordan winning all these races. The hierarchy has changed in NASCAR at this point, and I love to see it. I'm real happy for Reddick in 2311 racing. And now let's get Bubba a win, okay? We need to get Bubba Wallace into victory lane now. We got a couple of tracks that Bubba's good at coming up, so maybe he's able to get a win here soon. But I'll start with Tyler, talking about Tyler. How did we feel about Reddick winning 4 out of the first 6 races? And I can't believe the hell and back that he went through in that race and still managed to get to victory lane. It showed how quick of a car that he had on Sunday.
I can't believe the hell and back I'm going through with this season. What the hell, man? Like, okay, I get it. Win a couple races, whatever, but in 4 of them? What are we doing? Is anybody even trying out there? Like, we're changing batteries, emptying cool suits, and they're like, hey, let him just go on by. It's fine. He can win the race. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. Man killed it.
Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your full thoughts, man.
Went through hell. He's gone through hell. I don't have thoughts. That's the craziest part about this whole thing. What thought is there to have? I mean, the only thought I could be like is he's cheating, but that's stupid and I know better than that. Like, I love NASCAR too much to say that the man is cheating. I can say it as a joke all day long, but the dude's just damn good this year. Whatever they've got in that car is setup wise at every track is damn good, and he's going to continue to dominate until everybody cries. I don't think there's an answer to this.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people crying in my comments on TikTok. A lot of people crying, very upset. I mean, but this is what happens. We see this every couple of years with a certain driver. They just get the hot hand. Like, I'll always remember when Tony Stewart won that championship for Stewart-Haas. He was ass all year. He made the playoffs by the skin of his teeth, and he even had an interview right before the playoffs started saying, we shouldn't even be in here. We're taking up a spot that another team probably could do better with. And then he had the hot hand, won a bunch of races in the chase, and went on to win the championship in a tiebreaker with Carl Edwards. We've seen Jeff Gordon go on these crazy hot runs throughout his career. Mark Martin's had some moments where he goes on hot runs. Of course, my favorite driver, Kyle Busch, when he gets a hot hand, it's not just the Cup Series, it's all 3 of the series. And then Jimmy Johnson, fucking 5 straight championships. So I feel like once you get the hot hand, you're just you have the hot hand. He currently has the golden horseshoe stuck up his ass, like Kevin Harvick referenced to Jimmy Johnson all those years ago. That's what he has, and he went through hell and back. I remember tweeting early on in the race, the 2311 haters are real quiet right now because Bubba had his issues with the Denny Hamlin wreck, and then Tyler Reddick was going through hell at that time, and I was like, yeah, I don't think the guy is cheating. I think if he was cheating, they'd probably do a better job with the cool suit and with the battery and all this stuff. I don't think he's cheating, because there's definitely a lot of people on the internet that are just spewing from the mouth. They're foaming from the mouth right now because of. And the funny thing is, a lot of these people that are foaming from the mouth about Tyler Reddick, oh, Tyler Reddick's cheating, this and that. They probably used to be a Jimmy Johnson fan or a Jeff Gordon fan, and those two have the most cheating allegations over the last, 30 years. Like Chad Knaus, I always say it, Chad Knaus is the Bill Belichick of NASCAR. Is he the best? Probably, but he also cheated a lot, like Bill Belichick. So I kind of put him in that. Sorry, Tyler, I had to call out your boy right there. But it's very similar.
Bill Belichick ain't a cheater. You're just a sorry loser, and that's fine. Don't worry about his balls.
Patriots fan. He got Jordan now, so good for him. Good for him. But Cory, how do we feel about all this?
Man, it's hard to put to words because I think I've already said this. I have coworkers that didn't care about NASCAR at all. That now that Michael Jordan's winning and you're seeing Tyler Reddick win, and he did the historic 3 in a row to start the season, and all this amazing stuff, they're like, everyone was kind of rooting for low key because it was like, oh, we're witnessing history right now, and then now it's like that saying where it's like, be the hero long enough to become the villain. That now it's 4 out of 6, and we're like, okay, hold up. No. You have some outsiders that are like, they're cheating, you check their car, but it's just, they're coming in so consistent. They're doing something that, honestly, 4 out of 6, that's insane. It's hard to put to words. What he's doing is amazing, insane, and I'm rooting for it low-key because Tyler Reddick went through so much shit last year that it's good to see him and his family get this type of recognition, because I think we all knew Tyler Reddick was good, except Tyler. And then this year, he's finally showing out and getting, redemption from last year, baby.
Yeah, I would have to agree. He's definitely
Purgatory. I live in purgatory.
This is all your fault, Tyler. By the way, this is every single bit of this is on you.
Listen, if this is what I traded for a Justin Allgaier championship, I'm fine with it.
All right, I hope you're fine with Tyler Reddick winning 20 races this year. Like, oh my god.
It's fine as long.
It's been insane what Reddick's been able to do. I think what's going on with Reddick right now and the reactions on social media, the thing it reminds me the most of is when Jimmy Johnson was just in his heyday and on a tear, and I was part of this. I despise Jimmy Johnson, even though Jimmy Johnson was probably the nicest guy in the world, and it's very similar to Reddick. Reddick, I've met Reddick a couple of times. He's very short, but he's a super nice guy. He's very short though, but he's a super nice guy, and he's a very likable driver. But if your favorite driver isn't winning all the races and it's somebody else, it's just natural to dislike them. Like, look at the Chiefs are a great example as well. When Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce started killing it, Chris Collinsworth's part of that dynasty.
Let me compare Tyler Reddick to Patrick Mahomes. Chris Collinsworth ass over here.
But when the Chiefs first started winning a bunch of games with Mahomes and Kelce, I personally really liked the Chiefs. I wouldn't consider, obviously I'm a Steelers fan, but I enjoyed watching them play. But after they just won and win every single week, all of a sudden I was like, I don't like the Chiefs anymore. I don't want the Chiefs to win. And that's my mindset. I know Tyler dealt with that from a lot of Patriots haters for a number of years, because the Patriots were kicking all sorts of ass with Tom Brady. They didn't even do half bad when they had Matt Castle when Brady tore his ACL. So it's just something that happens in sports. It's not just a motorsport thing. It's a sport thing. If you win too much, people that don't want to see you win every week are going to naturally begin to dislike you. That's just how it is. So it reminds me a lot of when Jimmy Johnson was kicking all sorts of ass with Chad Knaus years ago. But, you got something?
Tyler.
Yes.
Can you believe this guy literally was just like, Tyler Reddick is being so great, it kind of reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. I just literally heard Chris Collinsworth in my ear right now.
Literally Chris Collinsworth. Now here's a guy that can win a race.
Without a battery.
Without a cool suit. Just dropping fluid on the track. Look at him.
Now here's a guy that doesn't need a cool suit. He's so hot, he has a hot suit. He reminds me a lot of Patrick Mahomes. We can do Chris Collinsworth all day. I don't think any of us do an actual good Chris Collinsworth impression, but
No.
It's just he's a walking meme at this point.
I did the last person I expected to talk about today was Patrick Mahomes. I was like, where did this come from?
But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about Tyler Reddick winning 4 out of 6? Only the third driver to do that. I forgot to mention that. Only the third driver to win 4 out of the first 6 races. And the other 2 drivers that did this were okay. They weren't bad. Their names were Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. So they're pretty good. Those are pretty good drivers. Pretty good company. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know who they are. I know about Robbie Gordon, but I don't know about Jeff Gordon. I know about Dale Earnhardt Jr., but I didn't know there was a Dale Earnhardt Sr., So, but let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Tyler Reddick winning the first 4 out of the 6 races and just all the hell he went through to get the win in the Goodyear 400? All right, now that we're done talking about Darlington, we talked about the stage cautions, we talked about all of that. Let's get into our preview for Martinsville Speedway. Then the boys and me will give our thoughts on Martinsville Speedway and what to maybe expect from this weekend for the Cup Series event. And then, of course, we will go through our weekly picks to finish up the show. Tyler still hasn't used his Hail Mary bonus. My Hail Mary bonus was I wouldn't say a complete failure. SVG came close to getting a top 10, but I didn't get any points from my Hail Mary bonus. So we'll see if Tyler is able to make something happen. Maybe he doesn't even use it this week. He still has a couple of weeks left to use it up. But let's go through the schedule, the facts, and our thoughts, and then a little bit of the weather as well. Here we got the Martinsville weekend schedule. On Friday, March 27th at 4:30 p.m., we have O'Reilly Auto Parts Series practice on the CW app, immediately followed by O'Reilly Series qualifying. And then later that night at 7:30 p.m., we actually will have the Whelen Modified Tour at Martinsville. The Whelen Modified Tour always puts on a good show at Martinsville Speedway. I'm interested to see how that goes. Maybe we'll have some drivers that we know in the field. I know Ryan Newman sometimes races in these races. Bobby Labonte sometimes participates in these races. Bonsignor, some of you may remember from last year, him and his brother will probably be competing as well. Cory LaJoie has had some appearances. Ryan Preece. We could potentially, I haven't looked at the entry list, so maybe none of these drivers are in the field, but sometimes they do end up in these fields for the Martinsville Whelen Modified race. And then we look over at Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Of course, all these times are Eastern. At 12:30 p.m., we have Cup Series practice on Prime Video, immediately followed by qualifying. And then a little later in the day at 3:30 p.m., we have the NFPA 250 on the CW, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race. And then later that night, not all that far from Martinsville Speedway at Hickory at 7:30 p.m., we have the Arca Menards East Series for the Cookout 200, and that will be on Flow Racing. And then we have the Cookout 400 on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. Now let's go through the weekend facts for Martinsville. The Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway, the stages end at lap 80, 180, and it's a 400-lap event. The track is located just outside of Martinsville. I'm assuming like town borders changed over the years, and it's located actually in Ridgeway, Virginia. It's a little bit over a half a mile, 0.526 miles to be exact. Of course, it is a paperclip. It is a short track. It opened up back in 1949, and the first Cup race was September 25th of 1949, won by the legendary Red Byron. And then the active win leader is Dennis the Menace, Denny Hamlin, with 6 wins at Martinsville Speedway. And then last year's winners, Denny Hamlin won the spring race, won this race last year, and then William Byron won the race in the fall. Then the notable entries that we have for the weekend. The Truck Series, it's a bye week for the Truck Series. No racing this week for the trucks. They'll be back at Rockingham. And then in the O'Reilly Series, we have Luke Baldwin, Tommy Baldwin's son, making his first start in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for Hettinger Racing. He'll be in a Ford. Then we have Lee Pullman, who's a legendary local short track racer, actually won a late model race just last week. He's driving the number 9 for Junior Motorsports. We have Brad Perez, a.k.a. Bread, driving the number 42 for Young Motorsports. A very good road course racer, has worked for a lot of teams over the last couple of years to get his opportunity. And Bubba Wallace actually paid for the bill on this car. So this is a Bubba Wallace sponsored machine on that number 42. A very good story there. And then Ross Chastain keeps on dipping his toes into the lower series. He'll be driving the number 91 for DGM Racing. And then we move over to the NASCAR Cup Series. We have Austin Hill making a start for Richard Childress Racing in the number 33. And then once again, we have the Allgaier, Lil Gator, Justin Allgaier driving the number 48, replacing the injured Alex Bowman. And then we look at the weekend weather report. It looks like Friday night we could potentially get showers, so that could potentially affect the Whelen Modified race that night. That race might get moved to Saturday morning or something like that. Who knows? But it sounds like there's a chance of showers, a little bit over 60% chance of showers on Friday night. The rest of the weekend looks like we're not going to get any rain throughout the rest of the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, honestly, fairly cool temperatures. It hasn't gotten too hot yet in Martinsville. So around race time for the O'Reilly Series, I would expect it to be around 55 degrees. And then for the Cup Series, I would expect it to be around 60, maybe even a little bit above 60 degrees around race time. All right, now that we've gone through the facts, the schedule, and the weather, let's give our little bit of our Martinsville Speedway thoughts and what to expect coming in to the weekend. I would personally say, and I don't know if either of the boys would end up agreeing with this, but I would say the least entertaining, probably the worst race on the schedule since we got. I know Cory feels this way actually. That Martinsville over the last couple of years has probably been the worst race on the schedule. At one point, it was the best race on the schedule. This generation of car has hurt the racing at a lot of different racetracks, but the track that's been most affected has been Martinsville, because we go to the O'Reilly series and every once in a while it ends up being like a shit show, a crash fest at the end of these races. But if you watch the other 90% of the race, it's phenomenal. And it's the same thing with the truck series. It puts on great racing in any other series, but in the Cup series, the last couple of years since we got into the next gen era, it's been pretty bad. When Goodyear introduced some new tires late last year and they raced them at Martinsville, I think it was a slight upgrade, but not much better than what we've had at Martinsville. But with the horsepower upgrade this year, I think we're going to have a pretty good race. I don't think it's going to be as good as Martinsville in the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s or really any other time frame. But I think we're going to have the best race for the next gen era at Martinsville in the Cup Series on Sunday. I expect a lot of contact out in the field. And one thing to also watch out for is potential speeding penalties. That these drivers are going to be very careful if they have to make a green flag pit stop. Because if you speed on pit road at Martinsville, like for example, if you speed on pit road at Talladega or Michigan or one of these bigger tracks, you might go a lap down. You might not even go a lap down. If you speed on pit road and you have to serve it at Martinsville, you're going 2, 3, maybe 4 laps down, depending on how far back you're in the field or if you're already a lap down. So that's something to definitely watch out for as well. But I want to get the boys' thoughts on Martinsville. My personal thoughts, I love Martinsville. It's one of my favorite racetracks on the schedule. It's also in my home state of Virginia, and I want them to get the racing better there because my preferred racing is short track racing. I love short track racing. It's my favorite type of racing in NASCAR and just in motorsports in general. And I'll start with Tyler on this because I think Tyler has very similar thoughts that I just kind of put out for you there. Tyler, how do we feel about Martinsville going into this weekend, next gen era, and then just as Martinsville as a whole?
It's tough, man. It's definitely tough. This car has been trying to kill Martinsville for years, it feels like. So,
You're
I don't know. I'm hopeful, maybe a little bit something different. They've put a lot of things forward with this little bit of horsepower, so I don't know. Maybe something different, who knows? Probably not. But we can stay hopeful because that's Martinsville and I love that track and the history of it all. So hopefully they do something to fix it soon because this is devastating.
You said let's stay hopeful, but your voice says,
Death.
He's like, Tyler's like, I'm hoping, but I don't have any confidence that it's going to be a good race. But Cory, I kind of know your thoughts a little bit about it, Cory, but how do we feel about Martinsville as a whole? Because I know because you watched NASCAR when you were younger a little bit, but you just, over the last couple of years, just got back into the sport, and you haven't had any fond memories of Martinsville like me and Tyler, I guess, would have. How do you feel about Martinsville as a whole, and how do you feel about it in the next-gen era?
My favorite memory of Martinsville is when Matt Kenseth took out Joey Logano. That's my favorite memory. But, but you guys kind of...
Yeah.
I honestly didn't expect you guys to say what I was going to say. That's kind of what I was going to say. To me, personally, entertainment-wise, it's the worst race of the year. But Saturday's race is one of the best races of the year. O'Reilly kills it when they're at Martinsville. That one's very entertaining. So it's kind of flip-flop. Like, I will watch one of the races, or I will watch both because I'm a fan. But one of them's entertaining and one of them isn't. And I hope they figure it out. But it's basically where you qualify is where you're going to race unless you get pushed way out of line or, something bad happens on pit road. Like, where you come out of the pit stall is where you're going to be. So we're hoping the tire wear has an impact. We're hoping the horsepower has an impact. We're just hopeful because it hasn't been great the last few years.
Yeah, my hopes, I wouldn't say are super high, but I do expect this race to be the best race we've seen at Martinsville in the next gen era purely because of the horsepower. We've seen what the horsepower did at Phoenix, and that's kind of where my barometer is, because the race we had at Phoenix in the spring was probably not just the best race at Phoenix in the next gen era, maybe the best race that Phoenix has ever had. I think there's probably an argument to be made there, but that's kind of my barometer on this. I saw what we had at Phoenix, and if Phoenix is able to put on that sort of show with, because those were the same tires that they had for the championship, if I'm not mistaken, at Martinsville, at Phoenix, but they just had the increased horsepower, which made a difference. And I'm hoping that the increased horsepower makes a difference as well at Martinsville. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you looking forward to the Cookout 400 this weekend at Martinsville Speedway? And what do you really expect to come from the weekend with the upgrade on horsepower, with the Goodyear tires? Let us know in the comments. All right, now that we're done with all of that, let's get to the last thing on the docket, and that is our weekly picks. Last week with our weekly picks, it looked like Cory was going to potentially get the win in weekly picks, but Briscoe had some issues near the end of the race, ended up finishing right behind Tyler in 12th place, and then Denny Hamlin for Tyler ended up getting 11th. A good run from Hamlin. I feel like he could have gotten a slightly better outcome than what he ended up getting, just outside of the top 10. He gets second place points. Cory gets third place points. So Cory only gets 1 point from this week. Tyler gets 2 points from this week. And then I ended up being the weekly winner with William Byron. So that gets me 3 points. William Byron also finished in the top 10. So that gives me an extra bonus point. So I got a total of 4 points for the week. And then I used up my Hail Mary bonus, or my tinfoil hat bonus, I like to call it, on week 5. And SVG wasn't quite able to get a top 10. At one point, I thought he had a good chance at it. And he improved throughout the day, but just not quite good enough to get me a top 10 and get me any bonus points. So the points heading into Martinsville Speedway, there is 3 races left in this series of 8. We have Martinsville, Bristol, and then we finish up this series of 8 at Kansas. The points look like this. Cory currently third in points with 21 points. I am second in points with 22 points. And then Tyler has 24 points and has the points lead. And we all still have a top 10 average finish on the year. Still no DNFs. It'll probably be me that gets the DNF just because I said that. But that's how it's looking so far. So the way the picks will go this week, Cory gets pick numero uno. I get pick number 2, and then Tyler ends up getting the third and final pick. And then we will pause to see if Tyler will end up using his, or at least attempting to use his Hail Mary bonus this week. And just to go over the Hail Mary bonus once again, once Tyler makes his Hail Mary bonus pick, either me or Cory can deny that pick. But once we deny it once, we can't deny it a second time. So if I deny his pick, that means Cory would have to deny his second pick or allow it. Cory would be the deciding factor in that case.
You've already denied him once, though.
No, that's per week.
Oh.
Yeah, that's every week. Yeah, that gets redone every week. So that's why you don't want to save it for the last race, because then both of them might turn you down. You don't want to save it. I mean, you can save it for the last race if you want to risk it, but that's why you kind of don't want to save it for the last race, because then if both deny you, you don't get another opportunity at using it, because they don't carry over to the next series of 8. So let's go through our weekly picks, starting, of course, with Cory. Cory, who is your pick to win the Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway?
First time I'll ever say this, but I beat your favorite driver, picking Denny Hamlin.
Wow. So he has decided to pick the driver of the number 11, Denny Hamlin, Dennis the Menace, to win at Martinsville Speedway. I'm essentially going to give Tyler a bone this week, because I know who Tyler's going to pick, because it's the only logical pick after I pick this driver, and his race team has looked phenomenal, and this is probably his best racetrack, I would say. He's won here in the trucks. He's looked pretty good here in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and it's about time a different 2311 driver wins. My pick is Bubba Wallace, the driver of the number 23 for 2311 Racing, is my pick to win at Martinsville Speedway. And now that I've made that pick, Tyler is going to be like, you just blessed me, because I think he's going to pick. I think we all know who Tyler's probably going to pick here. Tyler, who is your pick for Martinsville?
Ryan fucking Lady.
I don't believe I can make the pick, though. That's the right pick. Haven't I already picked him?
Nope.
Who are you talking about?
So Denny's off the board. You got.
I got
Who
Bubba.
did you just take?
I got Bubba.
You got Bubba. So the next one would be Willie.
If you want to take William
And I
Byron, go
don't think
ahead.
I can take Willie.
He already took.
Oh, you already took
I've
Willie.
already taken.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Yeah, I've already took Willie.
I was talking about somebody. I was thinking of somebody.
Yeah,
else.
don't give him. If you can't figure.
We were thinking of somebody else, Tyler.
Yeah, we were both thinking about somebody else.
Willie would be the best choice in my opinion. So I don't know. Give me Kyle Larson.
All right, you heard it here first. Tyler has decided to pick Kyle Larson. He foregoed the Ryan Blaney pick. I'm very surprised. I was expecting Ryan Blaney to come off the board, but that's the pick. Kyle Larson is Tyler's pick to win the Cookout 400. Maybe Hendrick can turn it around. Larson's looked good at Martinsville. I think it's a very good track for Kyle Larson. But now I give the question to Tyler. Do we attempt the Hail Mary bonus this week?
No.
I have 3 weeks.
No?
No.
So Tyler has decided to not take the Hail Mary bonus for Martinsville. So he is saving it for either Bristol or for Kansas. I think Kansas could be a really good opportunity. Stop doing that. I think Kansas could be a really good opportunity to potentially get some good bonus points. But the one risk you take at Kansas, because I think there's a lot of great drivers at Kansas, but the one risk with taking it at Kansas, if both me and Cory deny it, you don't get to use your Hail Mary bonus. And I pretty much didn't use my Hail Mary bonus either, so it might not be the end of the world. I didn't get any points from my Hail Mary bonus. Cory ended up getting 2 points with Carson Hocevar's performance earlier on in the year. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who is your pick to win the Cookout 400 at Martinsville? All right, and that will do it actually for this week's edition of Hit the Pacecar. I was about to say one of my other names for one of my other shows, but that goes for this week's edition of Hit the Pacecar with Cory and Tyler, the Pacecar boys. I'm Trackside Larry, and now I'm going to send it to the boys here for last word. Cory, anything you have to say to the people before we head to Martinsville this weekend?
Nope. Let's go racing, boys.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. That's
Brought that back this week.
yeah, DW brought that back. Yeah, that was awesome. That was a big talking point on social media. I do my NASCAR Reddit videos every week, and that was by far the most thing talked about on the NASCAR Reddit page. Was they were all real happy to see DW back. And now I'll send it to Tyler for his last words. Tyler, any last words for the people before we have Martinsville weekend?
God bless Lake Speed.
Hell yeah.
God bless Lake Speed. Everybody forgetting about Lake Speed. God bless Lake Speed.
Mr. Cartoon Network himself. Mr. Cartoon Network
Yes.
himself. I loved he had
Yes.
the most interesting paint schemes, I would say, Lake Speed. I was surprised that
Absolutely.
I was surprised they pulled that rabbit out of the hat. I was like, they're like, and Lake Speed. And I was like, oh.
Haven't seen him in years. That was the most excited I've been in a minute. God bless Lake Speed.
And God bless Lake Speed. He has probably I was about to say the most badass name for a race car driver, but that's not necessarily true. Stingray Rob is probably the best name for a race car driver, but Lake Speed, that's pretty
Trickle's
close.
good too.
Yeah, I would agree. Dick Trickle is also a great name for a race car driver, I would agree, for sure. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who's your pick to win the Cookout 400 this week? And whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, we would appreciate a like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, do whatever you got to do. Do that. We would greatly appreciate it. But for the Pacecar boys, I'm Trackside Larry, and I'm saying peace.